money. I want to help every person, not just the group that are here now live, but this will be a recorded link, and I want people to replay this link for the next week, 2 weeks, or 3 until a new session is recorded and updated to be able to get their new members started correctly. I want each person to avoid the common mistakes. One of the things that I've learned is that in our business and in fact in life, there are no new mistakes. There are new people making old mistakes, and there are old people making old mistakes. And what I seek to do is avoid them myself. So I talk mostly to me, and I let you listen. And what I seek to then do is to help each of you likewise avoid those mistakes as we go along. And so here we are together, myself inclusive, a brand new group of HopRocket distributors. And I'm going to go through a very practical and pragmatic step-by-step approach to causing us to become effective, to have us be as profitable as quickly as we possibly can, and to have that profit come as a result of other people likewise becoming profitable in the shortest possible period. The first thing I think is really important is for us to understand the magnitude of the opportunity. I'm going to ask you to hold on 1 second, because I'm actually going to open up an email link. I'm going to share with you specific and exact numbers, because in doing so, I think that it will help you understand the magnitude of the opportunity, especially in context of this next little illustration that I'm going to go through with you. So hold on 1 second. Sorry, I should have had this opened up before the session began. Patient with me, hold on. Okay, we'll come back to that in a second while my email function searches for. I'm going to start this session out with a discussion that I call the keys to the creation of a large income, or the vehicle. And Doug and Barbara, obviously you've seen this quite recently. Adriano, you've seen this many years ago. Others viewing this, if you've listened and been keyed into what I've done into my business thoughts, you've heard this. This will be a refresher course for you and for me. The keys to the creation of a large income. Very appropriate given our discussion right now as we launch this business. We now find ourselves, all of us, in a vehicle, a brand new vehicle, not just a new vehicle for us, but a new vehicle, period. And so, of course, this, I know how great my artwork is, but this is obviously a vehicle. And here are the keys, a brief recap of the keys to the creation of a large income. Now, for years, I described this lesson as the keys to the creation of wealth. And then along the way, I came to understand with clarity that creating a large income and creating wealth are two different things. I know a lot of people who generate large incomes and who never develop that subsequent skill of turning that income into wealth. And so that'll be part of the process as we continue, as we have more and more people who begin to develop large incomes. Then a primary part of my focus will be to make certain that people are taught basic financial skills, are taught basic financial parameters and rules and guidelines, which should never be avoided, so that in fact, we turn that income created into wealth. But here are the keys. The keys to the creation of a large income is to recognize that we're in a vehicle. HopRocket is a vehicle, your job, your career, your other business, whatever you might have done before in direct selling, it's a vehicle. And here's the first key. The first key to the creation of a large income is to find a vehicle going the direction that you want to go. It is simply an impossibility for us to go forward if the vehicle is going backward. That's a simple statement of fact. If the vehicle is going backwards, we will go backwards too. If we jump in a river and are strong and skilled and are a strong swimmer, we'll be able to swim upstream for a period of time. But the time will come when we'll get exhausted and we are going to go the direction of the flow. And so the first key to the creation of a large income is to align ourselves to get in a vehicle that is going the direction that we want to go. The second key to the creation of a large income is to recognize that we cannot outperform the vehicle for a long period of time. Now, Adriano, I'll speak to you specifically, and I know what some of your objectives are, and I know that one of those objectives are that you need to get some runs on the board right away. You need to generate some meaningful income quickly in order to get the attention of some other people that you need to get the attention of. And so the next key to the creation of a large income is to find a vehicle that is moving the speed at which we would like to grow. And so first of all is direction, but second is velocity. And the simple way that I like to explain this is if you're in a car and the car is going down the freeway at 90 kilometers per hour, how fast are you going? Well, you're going 90 kilometers per hour. You cannot outperform the vehicle for any significant period of time. Now, it's true that you can outperform the vehicle for a short period of time. You can go from the back of the bus to the front of the bus, but you will still be in the same bus. So key number one is to find a vehicle going the direction that you want to go. The second key is to find a vehicle that is moving the speed at which you would like to grow, or in some cases, the speed at which you must grow. Sometimes we must grow quickly to meet current pressing financial needs. Maybe those needs are not measured in bills that must be paid, but maybe those needs are measured in credibility that we must gain so that our circle of influence or our loved ones will pay attention to us. Key number one, find a vehicle moving the speed, the direction you'd like to go. Key number two, find a vehicle moving the speed at which you would like to grow. The next key to the creation of a large income is to find a vehicle like that that is not nearing its destination. And one of the messages that I like least in direct selling is the one of timing of the company. I like it the least, but it nevertheless cannot be avoided. It is true that your ultimate outcome, my ultimate outcome, your ultimate outcome, our ultimate outcome is going to be more dependent upon what we become than the hour or the day in which we occupied the vehicle. In fact, if we lack the basic skills required for success, and if our character is such that people don't want to be in business with us, then even if the vehicle is going forward, we will find a way to be knocked out of the back of the vehicle. So we must find a vehicle that's going the direction we want to go. We must find a vehicle moving the speed at which we would like to grow. And then in terms of this timing of the vehicle itself, we must find that kind of a vehicle that is not nearing its destination. Now, I will tell you that I have not been able to imagine or fathom the magnitude, how big this company might become. I think this company might become really, really, really big. There are natural limitations to the size that most of the companies I've been involved with could gain. Amway is an extraordinarily large company. Might this one become that big? I don't know. But the nutrition companies have had natural barriers. There have been a relatively large number that have made it to 30 or 40 or $50 million in sales, a much smaller group that have made it to 2 and 300 million, and only two or three, all these 35 years later, who have made it over 500 million and stayed that way for some significant period of time. Historically, then, if one got in the vehicle when it was nearing that natural limitation of its growth, or where that growth would become very slow and gradual as opposed to exponential, then it is true that the magnitude of the opportunity was reduced by that fact. So the first key is to find a vehicle going the direction you want to go. The second is to find a vehicle moving the speed at which you would like to grow. The third is to find that kind of a vehicle that is not at all approaching its destination. Now, in the case of HopRocket, I once again have been unable to yet imagine the magnitude of where we might go. Every day that I'm involved with the company, my vision of what it can and will become changes, and every day that vision gets a little bit larger. I've been frankly stunned at the quantity and quality of people who have responded affirmatively to this message. It's quite different than anything I've ever experienced. I have to go back 20 years to find something that was somewhat similar. The first key, find a vehicle going the direction you'd like to go. The second, find a vehicle moving the speed at which you would like to grow or must grow. Third key is to find that kind of a vehicle not nearing its destination. Then we must acknowledge every step of the way that it will be in large measure also about us. Even if we find that vehicle, if we fail to develop the skills required to be a successful operator of the vehicle, if we fail to develop the character attributes to cause others to be willing to get in a vehicle that we're operating, then our growth will stagnate and it will somehow lag behind the overall vehicle. If we find that kind of a vehicle, then it's incumbent upon us to not just occupy it, but to occupy it, develop skills, develop character attributes, grab the wheel, and put our foot on the gas. Now, what I just described to you is a lesson that has been worth to me something north of $25 million. The vast majority of the earnings that I have in this industry are because I understand those keys. And so with that in mind, we can then contemplate, and again, I'm going to choose, Stephen, to share with you some very specific information. I'm hoping that I can get this to open on my email because I planned on giving you specific facts. So please be patient with me again. I'm sorry, I should have had this opened up before the session began. Okay, hold on. Okay, so I'm going to once again share with you very specific information. HopRocket as a company first began its pre-marketing activities, its very first fledgling pre-marketing activities back in July of 2015. In my estimation, so far as I'm concerned, to meet my criteria, the company officially launched for business in either December of 15 or perhaps we could call it January of 16, one or the other, depending a little bit upon your viewpoint. And so what I'd like to do is share with you what the company's revenues are. And when I do this, again, I'm just choosing to give you exact figures. I'm not giving you approximates. I'm giving you the real information. And the real information is that in December, the company, in its very first month, what I would consider to be officially in business, did $126,000 in sales on a global scale. $126,000 in sales on a global scale, that means that the company is minute, that it is literally minuscule, that you have caught it at its moment of genesis. There have been so many times that we've seen this graph that all direct selling companies start on the bottom left-hand corner of the graph, and the vast majority of them don't get off the bottom left-hand corner. Well, this direct selling company, and it's something far, far more than that, this opportunity for others to acquire travel for less money than they can acquire any other way, which has chosen to deliver that extraordinary product through a direct selling mechanism, this entity of ours, this vehicle, is in fact at the point of genesis. Now, if one can find a way to mitigate the risks that are typically associated with that positioning, that is the moment of greatest opportunity. That cannot be avoided. It simply cannot be avoided. If we can find a way to mitigate the risks that are typically a part and parcel of that positioning, that is where the greatest opportunity is. Now, I would go back to my earlier comments. Why is the risk here so very limited? The risk here is so very limited because the company has no cost of goods sold, because the company has no difficult product registration issues to go through, because the company does not need to learn how to properly warehouse and fulfill orders around the world, because the very nature of the product itself, the very fact that we do what we do, mitigates risk in a substantial and a dramatic fashion. The fact that the company is so very, very, very prone to the accumulation of customers as opposed to business builders only makes it extremely risk averse. And so here we find ourselves at that exact point of genesis. Now, I referenced to you that in December, which is what I would consider to be the first month, total global sales were $126,000. In January, sales were $178,000. Now, as a percentage, that's a remarkable period of growth. In February, sales were $362,000, 362, 219.74. And by the time the 16th day of March came along, the company's sales in March are $241,294.49. And so we can see by the 16th day of March, the company is very close to doubling what it did in December and is substantially greater than what it did in February. And if the current daily sales trend continues, it's my opinion that that daily sales trend will not just continue, but will continue to accelerate dramatically. It's very clear and very obvious to me that sales are going to be something greater than $500,000 this month. And to give you an idea, once again, of the magnitude of the sales change in trend, I'm just going to pick a couple of days, just so that you understand what's going on here. I think that there are a whole lot of people who are failing to understand the magnitude of what's taking place. On the 14th day of December, HopRocket did $2,070 in sales. On the 14th day in January, HopRocket did $2,717 in sales. On the 14th day in February, HopRocket did $2,480. And the 14th day of March, HopRocket did $17,374. On the 15th day of December, HopRocket did $3,600. The 15th day of January, $6,100. The 15th day of February, $6,583. The 15th day of March, $20,864. The 16th day of December, the company did $3,096 in volume. The 16th day of January, $815 in volume. The 16th day of February, $7,411.22. The 16th day of March, $24,342. Folks, I wish that I could get every person who has been given an opportunity to see HopRocket could truly understand the magnitude of the opportunity. The risk of this type of positioning has been effectively mitigated in a variety of ways. This company is not just moving the direction that I want to go. I mean, Adriana, tell me, is the company moving the speed at which you would like to grow? Doug and Barbara, is this company moving the speed at which you would like to grow? To any one of you. I would challenge you to find something similar. This is unique. It stands alone in my experience in the industry. I believe that sales will be something over $600,000 this month, and my expectation is that it's going to be over $1 million next month. And we find ourselves at this moment, at this genesis, where we have an opportunity that perhaps, I hate the word once in a lifetime opportunity, because what I believe, the phrase, because I believe that opportunity is everywhere. I think there's always a way to succeed. I think if we're willing to work hard and search and search and search, we can find those moments of profound opportunity. And if we then have the wisdom and the courage to act upon them, great things can happen. But what we have found is a vehicle that is at the absolute genesis. It's the furthest it can possibly be away from its ultimate destination. Every day that I see what's going on, I believe that the destination is bigger and bigger and bigger. Every day, my vision of what this is and can be grows. We have a vehicle that's moving at an extraordinary pace, and yet I would ask each of you, if you happen to have had any interaction whatsoever with customer service or any other part of the company, it is not just that this company is doing well in the face of this growth. It is meticulous. I mean, it is meticulous in the way that this growth is being managed, and that gives me extraordinary confidence as to what will take place in the future. Now, obviously, we yet find ourselves at this genesis point. There are still plenty of things to prove, but a lot has been proven to me. And of course, most of you know that I had some affiliation and was working on the inside of the company on some projects before making the decision to become a distributor. Why did I make the decision to become a distributor? Because it became evident to me that this was a special moment. It became evident to me, and literally every day that becomes more evident. So the first thing that I would say to any person who is now becoming a participant in this business is I hope that you can understand the magnitude of the opportunity. And if you understand the magnitude of the opportunity, perhaps that will give you a greater sense of urgency. Perhaps you'll value each day a little differently. Maybe that will encourage you and empower you so that you take a little bit greater action on a daily basis than would otherwise be the case. Okay, so then we move on. There are some basics that I would call not only direct selling basics, I would describe these as the basics of life and the way that leadership works. Your group behavior will mirror your behavior minus 50 to 75%. That's the truth. That's the truth, and it can't be avoided. That's the way it is. And so I need to understand that with rare exceptions, I must do a lot if I anticipate my group doing 50 to 75% less than I do. If I want my overall growth to be what I want it to be, I have to do a lot. I have to set a standard. I have to set a bar of productivity. I have to do that which almost nobody can imagine doing. Now, what do you want out of this? I don't want this comment to scare you away. If what you want to do is make a little bit of money, you don't have to do much. That's the truth. This particular combination of factors are so great that if you want to make a little bit of money, I believe just showing up is going to help you do that. But I'm well aware now, having been around this business has taught me more about human nature than I think almost any other field of endeavor could. And I've come to believe and understand that my group behavior will mirror my behavior minus 50 to 75%. And so for that reason, I have chosen to set a very, very, very high, very rapid, very energetic, total 100% all out, no holds barred effort and commitment, recognizing that then when we get a 50 to 75% fallback in group behavior, that will still be an acceptable standard of productivity. Your group behavior will not be formed by your words. You already know this, but I'll just state it again. Your group behavior will not be formed by your words. Your group behavior will be formed by your behavior minus 50 to 75%. And that will remain true until you've gone through an extraordinary sifting process and you find another rare, unique individual who's willing to likewise do all that is required to succeed in the face of whatever obstacles he or she may face. The vast majority of humankind spends way too much time in the problem, not near enough time in the solution. If we spend time in the problem gets bigger and bigger. If we spend time in the solution gets bigger and bigger. Easy to say, hard to do. Okay, so we move on. As I've just stated, if you move slow, your group will move slower. Count on that. Plan on it being true. I really enjoy a lot about HopRocket. And one of the things that I like so much is that I do not have to create everything. In fact, I don't have to create much. The work that had been done before I got here is very, very effective work. And of course, over time, I'll add my own personality to it, as I would expect you to add your personality to it. I'll add points of emphasis. And as we begin to have our experiences and begin to grow, there'll be some areas where we need to add some content and so on. But I am working today in this new member orientation off the HopRocket step-by-step playbook, which you can find in your back office. And because this business is so extraordinarily simple, we do not need to have a complicated tool set in order to give someone access to the compensation plan and the various benefits of being involved in the company. This is a very, very simple process, and I will be slow to do anything to add to this very simple process. Why? Because it's working. Because it's working. And the last thing that I care to do is add more content than is necessary. This is a simple message that I believe can be acted upon and a process that can be replicated by countless, countless, countless numbers of people. And so we go step by step through this little getting started process, a simple 8 steps. And the first step, and by the way, those of you who've been around me for a long time know that I've lived for a long time with a 10-step process. And I've chosen not to bring too much. Certainly, I'm bringing all of my experience to this occasion, but I'm not coming here with any preconceived notion about it must be done the way that I've always done it. I'm not going to incorporate my 10 steps. I'm going to incorporate my personality into the 8 steps. They're already they're already created by the company. Why? Because as I reviewed and tried to determine what I would do differently, I arrived at the simple conclusion that right now I see no need to do anything differently. And so the first step is for you to understand who is your support team. And now I speak to you in 2 ways. I speak to you first as we do your own new member orientation. By definition, this group of people who are here live tonight, you're all new. No one's been involved in the business for more than a week or 10 days. In fact, this is today my day number 8, so none of you have been involved in the business for more than 7 days or 8 days. I, by definition, am new. And so the first thing is to know who is your support team. And in each of your cases, and of course, this will be reviewed by people who are a few generations removed from me now, but certainly I'm in your support team. I am among those that are in your support team. I may be your personal enroller, or there may be 2 or 3 generations removed. At this point, our business is 8 days old, and every single person in the organization is within a handful of generations from me. And so I'm in your support team. What I encourage you to do is reach out to me individually, send me an email, and I will make introduction to you of the others that are in your support team. Because of my business building strategy, though it's a unilevel compensation plan, and I could be sponsoring wide, I made a decision that I would initially build 3 legs. And then until such time as those 3 legs all have a degree of viability, I haven't put a number yet on what that means. It means until there's duplication happening multiple generations deep. It means until I have people making enough income in this business that they feel validated in it and that they are acting no longer on hope, but they're acting on the belief that's showing up in their weekly and their monthly checks. Until such time as I have 3 legs that are valid, then I'm building 3 legs. And so though I may be your personal enroller, if you didn't come in on the first day, in all likelihood, you're somewhere down one of those 3 legs. Therefore, there is a support group available to you in all likelihood. It may be that it's just me. I can see there's maybe one of you on this session where you represent the top of the leg, but the rest of you, you have a support group that is beyond me. And so send me an email, and I will connect you with the other people who have a vested interest in your success. As we go forward, it's important every time you do a new member orientation for you to introduce each new member to at least 2 further components in the upline hierarchy for 2 reasons. One, well, for multiple reasons. One, to remove some of the support burden from you, so that you can spread that work out. And second, because we each have a certain set of skills and attributes, none of us have all of them. Some of us have strengths, others of us lack. All of us have weaknesses of various kinds. And so I would like for every new person who joins us to be personally acquainted with and begin developing a relationship with not just his or her personal enroller, but at least 2 people further upline in the organization. Once again, even though I may be your personal enroller, unless you enrolled in the first handful of hours, you will be downline of one of those legs that are already being built. And I will continue to do that way. And I encourage you you make your business building choices the way that you want to, but I encourage you to look at the compensation plan. You'll understand that for most of you, you can reach your income objectives in this compensation plan with 2 legs. You only have to have a 3rd leg when your business gets pretty big. And so I would encourage you to not worry in your placements. Don't worry about being too awful wide. You saw me teach the power of the multiplier. I promise you, you can count on this. The day will come when I have 12 frontline legs that are all producing significant volume. That's what will put that power of the multiplier to work. But right now, what I'm concerned about and what I want you to be concerned about is the financial viability of those who join you first. Let's honor those relationships and help them become financially viable. So, support team. I want every distributor to know not just who is his or her enroller, but I want them all to know a couple of further touch points upline. That's part of your job and your responsibility. It's my job and my responsibility to help you know who is your support structure. Second, coming again, right straight out of the playbook, is for you to identify and quantify. Amway is the great predecessor company, and Amway called it dream building. Call it what we want. What's on your bucket list? What do you really want to do? What do you want? What's the dream out there? that is unavailable to you with your current job or career business? What would you do? What if suddenly financial constraints weren't in the way? What if you suddenly had the time freedom to do what you want to do? What would those things be? Stop hiding them, pretending the dream isn't there. Give that dream the light of day. Put it right out there, front and center. Write it down. What is on your bucket list? What do you want to do? And then it states in the sheet that I'm working off of, it says, what do you really want to get out of life? And I would add to that this thought, what drives you? I can't quite get away from that part of my personal life experience. I reflect back and remember when I was a child and I went to school and I saw the other cool kids, or the cool kids, were wearing Converse brand sneakers, and I remember how it hurt when I asked my mom if I could have some, and she said they cost too much. And I remember I asked my mom if I could have Levi's jeans because that's what the cool kids are wearing, and she said, Randy, they cost too much. And I was driven, really driven, early in my life to not live a life that was drawn by how much does it cost, and that's too much. And the truth is, this wonderful industry, and now we find what I believe will be the culminating point and the exclamation mark on my career, and I hope on yours. In this great industry, I've been able to separate myself from those challenges. And by and large, I've lived a life that's been devoid of how much does it cost, and that's too much for a long time, thanks to this industry. Well, that drive, since that's gone, now something new has had to replace it. But I know with clarity what drives me. I think that if you know with clarity what drives you, then when the inevitable bumps in the road come along, as opposed to retreating, we will push our way through the bumps. If we don't know what drives us, if it's not front and center and clear and it's properly articulated and it's in a place of constant reminder, then it is so easy to become like the human race. And I love the human race, but I don't want to be like it. For so long in my life, I wanted to fit in, I wanted to fit in, I wanted to fit in. Today, I've come to realize the last thing I want to do is fit in. Fit into what? A bunch of people who are broke. Fit into what? A bunch of people who struggle in every relationship. Fit into what? A bunch of people whose personal lifestyle is such that they're always sick. I don't want to fit in. No longer do I want to fit in. What I want instead is to not fit in at all. Well, it's so easy to find ourselves fitting in to society and culture unless we know with clarity what drives us. So I urge you to know what drives you. It then talks about this idea of making a list. And that's just basic network marketing 101. Make a list. There's not much that's simpler than that. And yet so frequently, and here I'll throw a cautionary balloon across the net. In today's digital world, far too frequently, our list never finds its way to paper because they're a Facebook friend, they're a Twitter friend. It's an electronic relationship that has never been personalized. Electronic relationships are great. I have a lot of them. But I would like your list to have on it in tangible form. I don't care if you write it down or type it into a computer, but if we don't have an active, live, working candidate list, there is not much reason for me to believe that we will ever arrive at a daily activity standard. If we don't have a candidate list right there that we can see and we can touch and we can feel, then it's so easy to let the day go by without checking a name off and putting a name back on. And remember that I've talked for so many years about this simple thought that making a list is an activity. I mean, we can go to this memory jogger and we can very quickly make a list off the memory jogger. It's not too long until that list has been expended. That's just the way it is. It's when we learn to live our lives that our candidate list grows in front of us. Now that's not a skill anymore. Excuse me, it's not a simple behavior. It's a behavior. It's an activity to write down a list of names. It's an activity to go to a memory jogger and write down a list of names. It is a skill to learn to so live our lives so that others will seek to be in association with us. If others seek to be in association with us, our candidate list forever grows. Now, in this session, I'm going to focus only on the very preliminary activity. This is a brand new business. By definition, every person has a brand new circle of influence. Everybody that you know should be on your candidate list. I do want to talk about this a little bit more. I've been fascinated with my own behavior since getting involved in HopRocket. Those of you who've been at the boot camps, whatever, I've heard that typically I keep pretty big parts of my life separate from the business. And that's a lifestyle choice that I have. I don't want to always be talking about the business. Today I played golf with a great new friend, and at the end of the round, I had no desire to teach him about my business. I was out there to play golf. It wasn't to talk about my business. But I've discovered something interesting with me. Those of you who know me, and those who don't, will now know that I lost a pretty miserable fight with drugs and alcohol over the years, and I've been clean and sober now for a period of time. But I've always kept my recovery world completely separate from the business. I didn't want to walk into a meeting of recovery and have the discussion turn to business. What I found in HopRocket is I still don't want that to turn to business, but my friends in the recovery world, they're traveling and I want them to save money. And so suddenly my candidate list for customers exists where before it did not, because my friends who play golf, they travel. And I'm perfectly happy to send them a trial link so that they can book their own travel for less money. So now I've got a candidate list of people I want to build a business with, but for the first time in my entire direct selling career, I have a massive, nearly unending list of candidates to whom I can describe just the opportunity for them to book their travel more cheaply. And in a few moments, we'll talk about this. In fact, talk about the daily activity standards. We move into the activity calendar. But I have an activity standard, and I really want you to not measure yourself against me. I learned a long time ago that if I measure myself against others, I'm going the wrong direction. That will lead me to conclude that I'm either better than them or I'm not as good as them if I'm measuring myself against others. I don't want to do that. I want to measure myself against me. If I'm being the very, very best that I can in all parts of my life, if I'm doing the best that I can in this business, if I'm getting better, then that's perfect. And if your best is better than mine, that's great. If your best is not as good as mine, well, what's that to measure? It's your best, right? And so I no longer measure myself against anybody else. I compare me to me. Me compared to me, I'm doing good. I would like you to compare you to you. And I'd like you at the end of every day to say, wow, me compared to me, I'm doing good. I've got more candidates today than I had yesterday. I'm taking some actions I haven't taken before. I'm behaving a little bit different, a little bit better in some parts of my life. Okay. So we make a list. And having established a list, and then over time, learning to so live our lives so that our candidate list grows in front of us. You know, I really hesitate to say anything's easy. Anything we do for the first time will almost by its definition be hard. But I have never seen anything so easy as to make a candidate list for HopRocket, because all the people that I know travel. Everyone that I know travels. And so it's really easy for me to make a candidate list and then determine, depending on where they fit in my life, do I want to share with them the business and the travel opportunity, or do I just want to show them a way that they can book hotel rooms and so on for less money than they can with Orbitz and Expedia? I mean, suddenly my candidate list is enormous. Then we come down to the activity calendar, and besides the activity calendar, the daily activity standard. And I do think the place where I find great value in the activity calendar, and this, of course, is also in the workbook that I encourage you to print out from your back office, from the resource section, is I've long taught that that which is measured can be improved. And when we are actually documenting what we're doing on a daily basis, when we actually fill out the blanks on a calendar, this is the number of people I added to my candidate list today, this is the number of people that I sent an invitation to, this is the number of people that I shared a trial link with, this is the number of people that I sat and I met with. When you can look back over the course of a day or a week or a month, it's then very, very easy to measure what I've long called the revenue producing activities. And if we look back at the end of the month, we measure our revenue producing activities. If we want to produce more revenue in the next month, it's very simple. Then we determine which of those activities look a little bit like. What do we need to do so that we can become encouraged and empowered enough to do more of the missing link revenue producing activity? That which is measured can be improved. In my own case, that which I don't measure and quantify and put down in writing, my mind blows it up and it tells me that it's better and bigger than it really is. So that which is measured can be improved, and that which is measured causes my mind to see the reality as opposed to the fantasy world that I sometimes can operate in. My own daily activity standard. I have a daily activity standard which is designed for me in a very specific way to lead to a daily productivity standard. Now, in this business that we're in, our own productivity cannot carry the ball very far. We simply must do what I've just long described as the following process. It's recruit, train, retain, and then fully transfer the baton of knowledge and leadership to someone else, notwithstanding the various unique dynamics of this company, HopRocket. This nevertheless is and will be a leadership business. The company will get as big as the leadership hierarchy that it's able to create. Your organization, my organization, will get as big as the leadership hierarchy and structure that we're able to create. So I have an activity standard that is also tied to a productivity standard. Now, if you're brand new to the business, then I would say that by far the more important of the two is the activity standard. If we do the right activity enough times, we will sooner or later develop the skill to do the activity correctly. Cicero was right so many years ago when he said the skill to do comes from the doing. And so if we have a daily activity standard and we act upon it, before too long we'll develop the skills and we'll do it well. And that will get us a certain way in this progress that we seek to have. It will become evident, however, in the not too distant future for each person, you will arrive at a position in the compensation plan, you'll arrive at an income position where it can no longer be dependent upon your own skills, upon your own ability to act upon these things. What we must do is recruit, train, retain, and then fully transfer the baton of knowledge and leadership to someone else. I assure you, to each one of you, that it is my greatest objective to teach you every single thing that I know and to then let you add your own unique character attributes and skills to what I know. Suddenly you'll know more than me, and to help you develop into whatever status and size in the business you want. I am so eager to be in the background behind you instead of in front of you. And that might take 6 months, it might take a year, for some it'll take 3 or 4, but I want you to know my stated objective is to be in your shadow, not to cast a shadow for you to be in. And my entire objective: recruit, train, retain, and then fully transfer the baton of knowledge and leadership to someone else. So my activity standard, once again, don't measure yourself against me. The lesson here is to have an activity standard, not to mirror mine. My activity standard is that I will introduce 15 people per day to the travel product, simply to the travel opportunity, 15 per day. Now, that's an amazing thing for me to say because I've never introduced anybody to the product my whole life in the business. I've always introduced the business first, and behind that, by the way, here's a product. I have a daily activity standard that I will introduce 15 people per day. And that's not so very hard to do because I need to simply send somebody a text. And we'll talk about the invitation a little bit. I just need to send them a text and say, hey, are you traveling anywhere in the next 90 days? Inevitably, the answer is yes. And say, you know what, a new project I'm involved in, or you'll use your own script. One of my projects, a project I'm involved in, or I came upon, we've worked through scripting and so on. But I sent a text, hey, gosh, Jordan, are you traveling anywhere in the next 90 days? I found a cool new search engine. I think you can get your hotel rooms, your rental cars, maybe your flights for less money. Can I send you a link? Yep, bang, 15 times a day. That's it, 15 times a day. I'm going to send a trial link. Now, today we're lucky because those trial links are free. There will come a time when we don't have unlimited numbers of them. It'll be limited to 60 that are free. You know what? Right now, today, as long as it's available, I'm sending 15 per day. I want you to know that it's a complete waste of time, as is identified and documented. It's a complete waste of time to send that link out without having first that telephone call. Hey, Jordan, are you doing any travel in the next 90 days? Wow, have you already picked your hotels? I found a search engine that's really, really cool. It's a project I'm involved in. I believe you can book the exact same room you want for less money. Can I send you a trial link? Now, Jordan, tell me the truth. Would you say yes to that or not? If the answer is no, say no. Would you say yes to that? That's what I want to know. I already know the answer because he said yes. And I sent him the link, and today's distributor. So, guys, let's not make it harder than that. Let's not make it any harder than that. Whether it be a text or an email or a phone call or a private message on any one of the services. Gosh, Adriano, do you have any travel plan in the next 90 days? Now, this for me is just the customer. So my daily activity standard for customers is 15 per day. And I'm acting upon that daily activity standard. And I'm getting the trial link at work, and then I do follow-up behind it. We'll teach that follow-up process a little more as we go along. I also have a daily activity standard reference to business. My current daily activity standard is very, very, very aggressive. Now, it doesn't sound like such a big number, but it's an aggressive number measured against everything I've done in my career. My current daily activity standard reference to business is 10 times per day. I will have a touch. And once again, I'm not just talking about a Facebook post going out there into the universe and seeing who might answer it. No, 10 times per day, I am reaching out, whether it be by a text or an email or a telephone call or a private message of some kind, provoking a conversation about the business, separate and distinct from those 15 times per day that I'm touching somebody about the product idea. Now, once again, it's not about the size of the activity standard, and it is certainly not about mirroring my activity standard. I have huge income objectives. Frankly, I have a huge lifestyle that demands huge income, and we have come upon something that makes possible far greater and far more rapid results than anything I've seen before. And so, having been around this for so many years and having studied and talked about and drawn that vehicle on the board so many times, here we have found a vehicle that is literally at the genesis of what I believe is going to become an extraordinary period of expansion, and the message is easy to deliver. So I have a daily activity standard. That daily activity standard is very easy to monitor on an activity calendar. Next, we go, once again, going straight through the workbook. Next we go to, and by the way, there's a bunch of scripts that are included in the workbook. The next thing we do is we go to our steps of activation. Where did I lose my steps to activation page? Okay, steps to activation. Oh my gosh, I've lost my steps to activation. So nevertheless, I'll tell you what they are. The steps to activation mirror the 4 revenue producing activities that I've always talked about. The revenue producing activities are, first of all, to create a candidate list. They are second, to learn how to invite. Now, a group of invitation scripts are printed in these steps to activation. I will also create an audio file and post it on the website sometime soon that is the invitation. In those steps to activation, I emphasize this mastering the art of the invitation. There we go. Samantha brought to me the steps to activation. And so, again, a very, very simple workbook, and it covers every one of the grounds that we need to cover. Master the art of the invitation. Once again, if I were to simply send links out to people, I am confident that I would have exactly no result. And so the invitation is simply developing the skill of knowing what to say and what not to say so that we can get out of the way and let the process work for itself. I need only say a couple of things. So then say, there's a couple of links that I'd like to send you. One is a trial link to a search engine, and another one is about a 2.5-minute YouTube video that describes a really, really cool project that I'm involved with. What's the best time for me to call and chat about those things that I'm going to send to you? We want to say as little as we must to get out of the way to let the tools start to talk. Now, there's so much less pressure on this invitation in this environment than anything I've ever seen, because I want to again highlight one of the many reasons that I chose to become involved in HopRocket. Throughout this remarkably successful career of mine, I have spent the last 25 years, I don't like the word trying to convince, but that's the truth, trying to convince or illustrating to others why they should buy what I have to sell, why they should buy what the company has to sell. And in HopRocket, we're doing something dramatically different. We're showing people how to buy what they've already decided to buy, the exact same room, the exact same cabin on a cruise ship, the exact same class of service on an airplane, the same rental car. We're showing them how to buy what they've already decided to buy for less money. That takes the pressure off of the invitation entirely. It completely neutralizes the challenge that the invitation has been throughout the whole time of my career. That doesn't change the fact that we should develop that skill. That minus that skill, we will leave some great prospect, some great candidate behind, because he or she did not look with eager anticipation at what's in it for him or her. Until we learn how to invite, the candidate will inevitably feel like we're calling because it's in our interest. It's only when Ed, it's in the back office under resources. Okay, go to the back office under resources, and it's called the, oh my gosh, it is called the step-by-step playbook. Back office under resources. And there are also a group of invitation scripts. Now, if you want to be really good at this, if you want to have this make the most sense, then don't use the script the very first time you're talking to an actual prospect or candidate. Use the script talking into a handheld recording device. Say it 5 times, 7 times, 10 times. Hear what it sounds like. And then query yourself. If this person, same relationship, called me, said these same words, would I take the requested action or not? But I don't want to make this so hard. I mean, Ed, and all the rest of you, don't get bogged down in this. I think that I've placed so much emphasis in prior times in my career on this mastering the art of the invitation and told you not to blow great prospects out of the water. How easy did this just get? How easy did it get? Are you doing any travel in the next 90 days? I want to show you how you can get the exact same travel you already want to get for less money. And by the way, there's a way to make a buck at this. I want to talk to you about that too. Let's make this easy, not hard. Master the art of invitation. Learn how to say as little as we must to get out of the way and let the opportunity unfold before the individual. Next is to present HopRocket. We had an interesting opportunity the other day, and Ed was here at our home. And Ed has seen the length and the detail to which we've gone through presentations in past business environments. But I want to describe to you exactly what took place at our home a couple of days ago as we introduced people to the HopRocket business. We invited a bunch of folks over, a handful of folks, not a bunch. I think we had 5 or 6 of us here. None of them had ever success in the direct selling industry, and only one of them, Ed, had any real background in the network marketing industry, been around a little bit, but had not really dived into it and had any financial results. And so the first thing we did was just gather people together and ask a simple question of, do you have any travel planned in the next 90 days? And every person in the room had some travel plan in the next 90 days. And so then I had my computer set up to the projector so they could all see it. We could have done the same thing sitting around a computer terminal. And I said, well, so if you've got some travel planned, which city is it going to be in? And one of the persons told me. And where would you like to stay? And he told me. And so then we got online, we logged into Orbitz, and we took a look at what Orbitz would charge for that room. And then we went to HopRocket, and we found out the HopRocket room was $25 less. And they said, "Does anybody else got any travel plan in the next 90 days? Yes. Okay, where is it? What room? We logged on. We found out that we could buy the room through HopRocket for quite a bit less money. All of a sudden, well, I'm going to Costa Rica. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm doing that. Fine. Then what I'm going to do before this evening is out, I'll have you come up. We'll get on my computer, and I'll send each one of you a trial link. And I encourage you to do 50 searches. You do 50. Almost nobody will. They'll do 5, and the evidence will be before them. Every time they do a search, HopRocket produces a little bit better price. Now, I have observed in our company that there's very little discussion or description of how and why this is possible. And so I will here describe it for you. And the good news is you don't have to learn this because you can simply use this link and replay it. Here is the way it works. In the whole travel and hospitality industry, major hotels, car rental companies, and so on, cruise ships, they all know about what percentage of their rooms or of their capacity they will sell at retail any given night. They're very, very sophisticated in their forecasting, and they know which percentage of these rooms they will sell to the consuming public. That percentage that they don't sell, that they don't anticipate selling, they offload risk. They sell at wholesale to what's called an aggregator. The aggregator buys the unused rooms. And so the Hilton, the Marriott, Sheraton, whoever it is, the Hyatt, the Four Seasons, they all take the risk off because even if the room is empty, they got paid something for it because they sold all of their anticipated vacancies to an aggregator. The aggregator in turn sells them to Orbitz, and they sell them to Expedia, and they sell them to Priceline, and so on. Now you might observe that if you do search after search after search on those competitive search engines, that the prices are almost always the exact same. Why is that? It is because there is an industry trade agreement which assures the price will not be offered below a certain floor. The major hotel chains don't want large numbers of their rooms to be sold for a lot less money because that damages their pricing capacity at the top level. The way to get a different pricing strategy is to not have an open source engine, but to have a subscription service. That is the reason for the HopRocket subscription service. As a result of being a subscription service instead of being an open website, we now have a different industry rule to work with, and that's why every single search will have a lower price on HopRocket. And that's why it is a great deal to pay $75 one time per year as a pure customer to be able to book better fares all year long. And if that is true, and it is, then isn't it evident to you there's a business associated with it? That's the message. That is the message. And so we simply ask people, are you going anywhere in the next 90 days? First, by the way, we played a really cute little video. The company has some really sharp videos. We played, I think, a 2.5-minute YouTube clip. You can choose whichever one you want that kind of showed the HopRocket message. I will also post that clip on the one that we use. I'll post it on Facebook so you can see exactly what I chose to use and select. What that did was kind of give a vision of the nature of the company. It's very clever. Following and that came after I asked, are all you guys going to travel anywhere? They said yes. Then we gave the description of why this pricing can be offered at a lower level, and then said, now clearly if we can have pricing on the same room you want to buy anyway for a lower price, there's a business associated with it, and here we go. And then I gave the very briefest description that they could become an an elite member by simply making that purchase, and that would give them access to the back office. Did a very quick illustration of the back office, and said, I invite you to join me. That's the presentation, folks. And I promised them before we started, there were a couple of young guys who had to go pick up a friend at the airport, and I promised them before we started that they would be wrapped up in 20 minutes. And we would have been wrapped up in less than 20 minutes, but there were questions. I love it when in a business presentation there are questions. There was not critique questions, not skeptical questions, questions of how they could make this work for them. And it was across the board. Ed was here to see it. Ed was here and he saw it. Questions across the board that were all positive, leading questions. How will this work for me? How can I do this? So we learn how to present the business. We learn how to present the business in a way that can duplicate. What I showed that night is eminently duplicatable. That process will be rolled out. That's the next step in becoming an effective participant in this business. Learn how to present the business in a fashion that will duplicate. And next we follow up. Now follow-up falls into two categories here. It falls into the category of today, as an example, I have 50 or 60 product or travel trial links that are out in circulation. And so the follow-up is made easy by HopRocket because they notify me in the back office when one is getting near expiration date. And so if it hasn't come to my mind to follow behind those anticipated searches, then I'm going to get the notice when there's a couple or 3 days left before it expires to do my next touch. I mean, this is the most beautiful follow-up provoker that I've seen in the whole time that I've been in the industry. It almost makes it impossible for me to drop that ball. Now, in the case of my business candidates, I have always established in advance what the follow-up moment will be. I let them know when I made the first invitation, I established at that time when I would follow up. That's why it's so important that we keep the activity calendar, because if I indicated I'd follow up on Wednesday, then I need to follow up on Wednesday. If I indicated, hey, I'll check back with you to see how your searches went, to see if you had a chance to review this link. Now, by the way, in my business introduction, I want you to also understand what tools I'm using in the business introduction. In the business introduction, I send to someone the trial search engine. That's an automatic because they can prove to themselves the validity of the process in a matter of minutes. And the next thing that I send is the link to the recorded web session done just a handful of days ago that is called Why HopRocket, Why Now, Why You. It's an hour long. It's very, very likely that as we stop being obscure and unknown and start to become more well-known, that there will not be a need for that detail and that depth and breadth of information. But right now, that's what I'm doing, and it's working extraordinarily well. The average length of time between when I make that introduction and when a person is ready to take action or tell me, hey, Randy, good for you, but it's not for me, it's averaging about 3 days, and that for me is an almost ideal and almost perfect turnaround time from introduction, evaluation, conclusion. When we can get the length of time between introduction, evaluation, and conclusion tidied up any time in less than a week, then we have something that can cascade. It can grow, it can grow, it can grow. That's exactly what's taking place. The next part of follow-up is to do an effective new member orientation with every person who joins the business. And I would here remind you that I do most new member orientations more with people who have not yet joined the business than I do with people who have joined the business. Why? Because I recall, and I hope I always recall, that when I first got involved in this industry, all I heard was discussion of what it is, what it is, what it is, what it is. I was not given a simple illustration and understanding of what I would need to do to become effective in the business. For example, that we have people on this session right now who have not yet joined the business, but they're keyed into this session to understand, well, what would I need to do to become effective in the business? This then becomes your tool and your resource. Obviously, we live in a digital world. We live in a world that's connected all over the place. To the extent that you can be with your prospect, whenever we think that technology replaces personal interaction, we are at risk of losing wonderful, wonderful people. When people are not regionally close to me, then of course I have to let the link do the talking, but I want to be on the telephone, or I want to be on a Skype call. I want to be maybe texting back and forth during the review of this session. Okay, this was created tonight for you individually who are on it, but this was created as part of my overall process, because now I have this large number of people who have seen what the business is, but have no idea what to do with the business. And so this then becomes my next step in follow-up, to send each one this link. They saw first Why HopRocket. That's a recorded link. They saw they've used the search engine now, and they've seen the ability to buy their own travel cheaper. Now, how do I do it? Now, I'm describing to you specifically and exactly how do you do it. So that becomes the follow-up process. Ladder of escalation. One thing we need to remember is that people will evolve their way through this process at a pace that is consistent with their life pattern. And if I do anything that tries to change their pace, if I try to accelerate them, I'm hoping and I'm believing that not a person on this session and that nobody else anywhere in the world has felt pushed by me to do anything. Why? Because I don't like to feel pushed. What I want to do is make a decision in my time frame. I want to do what's right for me. I'm not interested in doing what's right for someone who's trying to get me to take some action. And so I understand well this ladder of escalation. So what is the ladder of escalation? The ladder of escalation is, having identified a qualified candidate, we determine, is this a candidate for the business? Is this a candidate simply for the search engine, booking their own travel? In other words, is this an elite member, a premium elite member, or is this a customer? We then, with a properly crafted invitation, we determine which tool to use, and it will be these things that I've described to you up until now. One of the things I've talked to you now. After that very first introduction, what happens next? What happens next is, if they're regionally close, they're invited to a presentation like the one that I did last night. If they're not regionally close, then they are invited to review the web session. By the way, next week, at our business presentation, because I want this to be as eminently replicatable as it can possibly be, we will videotape our business presentation. We do it on our home every Tuesday night. So this coming Tuesday night, we will videotape it. I didn't videotape the very first one because it was the very first one, and I had no reason to believe it would be the best one. The second one probably will also not be the best one, but it will be good enough. I've been through it now. And so the next rung on the ladder of escalation is to invite someone to a business presentation. If you invite them to your home, that's terrific. Then play the little video that I'll be posting next week. If they are not reasonably close, no problem. You send them that link so that they have the presentation. Behind that, the next step is what? The next step is a new member orientation, whether they've joined the business or whether they haven't, because perhaps that is the deciding factor. I couldn't decide to do the business. I remember all those years ago when I first said yes. I could not act based upon what it is. I could only act based on not no longer just what it is, but what it is and what I would have to do to become effective in it. The next rung on the ladder of escalation is to choose a hop trip and get to one pretty soon. The next rung on the ladder of escalation is to participate in company events. And at every single step, one must know what is the next step. Every single step of the way, what is the next step? What is the next step? What is the next step? Over time, you'll come to know intuitively what is the next correct action to take. Okay, next thing is I'd like, and by the way, what I just described to you, that is as simple a process as I have ever seen in the direct selling industry. Made possible, why? Because this is the simplest and most widely demanded product that I've ever had a chance to be associated with. Once again, I'll never say the word easy, because anything that has great rewards has to have some work associated with it. And I will tell you very candidly that Samantha and I have worked hard these days, but we have not worked hard doing hard things. We've worked a lot of hours doing very easy things. Why? Because we're providing a solution for people to acquire what they already want. They want to travel for less money, whether it be for business or pleasure, and they want to separate themselves ultimately from the generation of income. So I'm providing a solution to their problem. Since I'm providing a solution to their problem, then yes, we've talked a lot, we've had a lot of conversations, we've invested a lot of hours, but it's been hard work doing easy things, and that's better than doing hard work doing hard things. I would like all to be really, really aware of the company's current promotions. The March Madness promotion is a way for people to make money fast. It can never be avoided or changed. That proof of income is the lubrication that greases the wheels of all productivity and direct selling. It's just the way that it is. People want to know, how's it working for you? How's it working for you? How's it working for you? Here in the March Madness promotion, every time you enroll a new elite member or a premium elite member, or upgrade someone from customer to elite or from elite to premium, then you get points equal to the dollar invested in this March Madness promotion. I want to especially congratulate Adriano here. Adriano, in his first week in the business, made himself to number 5 in the world of HopRocket. Admittedly, the world of HopRocket's not a very big world right now, but it still, I think, is really, really remarkable for Adriano to be number 5 on that list in the very first week. But I would also tell you all that these numbers are not so big. I'm very careful. I don't want to impose my goals and objectives on anybody else, but some of you on this session, you could be in the top 5, you could be in the top 3, you could be number 1 by the end of this month. Every single thing that we do is preparing our next month's marketing message. And remember that for every fast start you earn in March Madness, so long as you've personally enrolled at least 3 elites, that fast start is doubled. For every sponsor bonus you earned, as long as you've personally enrolled at least 3 active elites you've personally enrolled 3, then it once again doubles it. One doesn't have to make a fortune the first month, but one makes something. The combination of the evidence of the fact that people can book travel for less money tied to your own personal results adds up to a very, very compelling story. And I think that there's a large number of people who have not paid any attention to that March Madness promotion. Remember, in HopRocket, because there is no cost of goods sold, there is no inventory risk, all the things I've talked about, the company is able to fund the compensation plan as is written in the document, and there are pre-funded promotions. And so right now, the 2 pre-funded promotions are March Madness. I would like very, very much for you, whether you be live here tonight, whether you're watching this link, to study March Madness and decide, make some money, because people are going to ask you, how is it working for you? When you can say, wow, here's what happened to me my first month, here's what happened to me my second week, whatever it was. That becomes a very, very important part of the story. And then the climb. One of the things that I have been challenged with over the course of my career in the industry is trying to help people who need to make a substantial amount of money quickly do it. Our direct selling industry is by definition one where we build and we build and we build and we build. And it's only after we have a lot of people and we earn a little bit of money on a lot of people, that's when we make a lot of money. I absolutely love the climb promotion because there are some of you reviewing this live now or reviewing it online later who absolutely have the capacity to finish one climb in your first or your second month. You know what? If you can make $5,000 in your first or your second month, if you can make $10,000 in your first 3 months, you just stuck the key in the lock to long-term success. Because in this business, whether or not it's the way it should be, it is the absolute truth that what you earn is more important than what you know. You gain credibility by that proof of income. I want to challenge you all that we never, ever, ever portray or project to someone else what they might earn. We don't know. I want you to never, ever, ever say you make 50 cents more than you did. And anything that you ever say, I want you to document it. But when you can show somebody that you made $50 or $100 your first week or your first day, you can show somebody you made $300 or $400 your first month. If you can show somebody you made $5,000 or $7,000 your first 2 months, there will be plenty of people. There will be those, given the dynamics of this opportunity, there will be those who complete 2 climbs in their first 3 months. You know what? If you're making 10 grand in your first 3 months, you didn't have some big group you imported, the world will pay attention to what you have to say. And then my final thoughts for you in this discussion tonight, and you've been patient with me, you've listened to me for an entire hour, and I thank you for that. Let's have fun. This is a cool project. This is fun. Even though, as I stated, Samantha and I, we've worked hard, but we've worked hard doing easy things because we're providing people what they want. Instead of trying to convince them that they want something, we are providing to them what they already want. What they want is to be able to buy what they're already going to buy for less money. And the travel industry, as was stated, is $7 trillion worth. People are spending the money anyway. They'd like to save a few dollars. They want that. We can show them how. And the next thing people want is they want to find a way. They want a pathway to personal freedom as opposed to the job they've got. They'd like to have some freedom, and we've got what they want. And I believe that while it may not be such an upfront stated objective, my own life experience is that what we earn is cool, and that's great. The lifestyle we live can be fun. But what really matters is if we engage ourselves with a group of people who are universally engaged in the idea of becoming better. Stick around with me for a while, and you'll find out that, yes, I've got to teach what I have to teach to help you make money. But we will very shortly transition into developing a group of people who are living life in such a way that we become so attractive to others, they want to be part of it. Entering a community whose primary purpose is lifelong personal growth and development, being better and better and better in all aspects of our lives. And I can tell you that when we grow, it's fun. And this company itself is fun. And so, folks, once again, I thank you for your time with me this evening. That was a simple and very basic getting started routine. I believe that if you will simply share this link with others who are wondering, what do I do when I get involved, that this will help you. That's that next step on the ladder of escalation. And I want you all to know that I appreciate you, I respect you, I thank you for joining us, and I pledge to you every single bit of all that I know and can do to help you accomplish your goals in this business. So, God bless y'all. Talk to you soon. Good night.